Harris. Thank you very much, Prasoon. A very, very informative session there for all of our participants, in fact, and some very interesting keywords that we took away in terms of adaptation and innovation and how to market, but most importantly, market appropriately. So thank you once again to both of our stalwart speakers. And with that, what we're going to do is move on to our next keynote speaker. Let me also inform our participants that in a short while, we'll also be joined by the most loved poster boy of Indian startups, Ritesh Agarwal of Oyo. He'll be joining us in a short while as well. But before that, let's take the tech route to navigate the COVID-19 crisis. In fact, our next keynote speaker is responsible for all the strategic and operational matters related to IBM's sales, marketing services, delivery operations in his capacity as the Managing Director, South Asia of IBM. And as we all know that IBM has been a key player in India's technology journey and continues to provide the innovation necessary to power India's digital transformation. So on that note, I'd like to welcome Mr. Sandip Patel. So Sandip sir, warm welcome to you to the virtual summit.
Thank you.
And with that, I believe I'm going to hand over the proceedings to you, sir. Over to you.
Great. Thank you very much. Good evening. I'm delighted to be a part of this virtual edition of Economic Times Global Business Summit. It's a fantastic forum for us to come together and deliberate on how to weather the COVID storm. But before I get into the topic of technology, I wanted to set the context for the new normal that we find ourselves in. And I think many of my preceding speakers before me have talked about it. But I believe that this new normal is defined fundamentally by three key shifts. First, digital is now mainstream. It is pervasive. What we are witnessing is an onset of a full-blown digital age, a new world order in some respects. And let's just dwell on this point for a moment. Just a couple of months ago, you and me would have been in the same room exchanging thoughts and ideas and talking about this and ideating. But then that was yesterday. A virtual summit, which may have just been an option in the past, is a necessity today. The COVID pandemic has pushed us to adopt digital in a full-fledged manner, and that too with a greater degree of urgency. A time that will be recorded in history as a turning point in human civilization is this acceleration of digital ecosystems in every aspect of our lives, industry and commerce. The second shift, which is actually an outcome of the digital shift, are new business models and opportunities. These that are emerging to address the needs of this digital age, and ones that must be agile, cost-efficient, and built on a foundation of trust. All of these powered by technologies like the cloud, artificial intelligence, and blockchain. The third shift, which I believe is truly defining, is the emergence of the network economy. This pandemic has taught us new ways of how we conduct our business, how we work and interact with people, how we connect with the larger community, our customers, our employees, our business partners. Virtual networks are fast becoming the enabler of work in these times. So then we come to technology. And technology, in many respects, is starting to emerge as the unifying force, a sutradhar of sorts, as we navigate through the shifting paradigm amidst the global crisis. Now, why do I say that? Just think about it for a minute. The one thing that has kept us all connected, the economy and our lives ticking, is technology. From food to health checks, to education, to work, or just simply staying connected with loved ones who are not with us. It has been an elixir to our life. And what a powerful force when it is leveraged for the greater good of the world at large. And all of that with the right level of trust. Trust that it will work with reliability. Trust that your data and privacy will be protected. Trust that your connectivity is secure. In many respects, this is good tech. Good tech is empowering health services, education, payments, emotional well-being of citizens, and keeping us all safe and connected. So rather than list out a set of technologies, I wanted to share my observations on how technology is enabling us to navigate across these three fundamental shifts that I just referenced. And I want to do it with a few examples across three broad categories. One, powering the new work paradigm, how our technology is powering this new work paradigm. Second, driving innovation for the greater good amidst this pandemic. And third, building sustained resilience now and also for the future. So let me talk about the first broad set of technology examples. How is it powering a new work paradigm? Today, whether we planned it or not, we are operating with a digital workforce. Work from home is a reality, and it will be for a while. As I speak, over 99% of IBMers in India and over 95% around the world are all working from home. This has been possible only with technology and several aspects of technology. Reliable, secure network connectivity, secure video conferencing, virtual collaboration tools, productivity management tools, and the like. Our forward investments in establishing an infrastructure for enabling remote work has served us well for both accelerating the shift for our own employees, but also for assisting clients make this shift very, very quickly. And it's not just about enabling work from home. It is about delivering essential services remotely and in collaboration with our clients as they also work from home. In the previous session, one of the panelists, Mr. Diamond, he talked about the creative process. And I completely agree. Getting into a room and really talking through ideas, driving creativity is very, very important. But when we are all locked down for weeks, months at a stretch, one of the things that we are able to enable through virtual collaboration technologies and so on is run design and creative sessions with people across multiple geographies. And we've been able to do just that with, and there's an example of a banking client that comes to mind, where we actually just recently did a whole series of design work sessions across multiple geographies. And actually the work time got compressed, where we were able to do this over a period of a week to 10 days, when it otherwise would have taken several weeks. As we have done this enablement, it's not just the technology of working at home and providing these services, but the sheer logistics of doing this across a large workforce, or even for a smaller workforce, is not trivial. Here again, technology has helped to coordinate operations, deliver timely communications, and ensure compliance with changing regulations. As we have moved to this new work paradigm, the other element that every organization has been tested on is the agility and efficiency of their infrastructure. And this is an area where cloud technology has and will continue to gain relevance. With the need for every organization to consider hybrid architectures that are open, not locked into proprietary standards, and those that allow seamless, secure movement of mission-critical applications and data across multiple infrastructure platforms is going to be critical. And all of that with inbuilt enterprise-grade security. And this is going to become even more relevant as organizations start to deliberate and strengthen their business continuity plans in the wake of this crisis. So here again, technology, but technology within the context of the new work paradigm. The third domain, which I think is becoming, even more enhanced, not just here, but for governments and others as large, is that every organization has needed to enable new customer engagement models. And here, artificial intelligence-based solutions have found increased applications across a variety of different domains for disseminating timely information and alerts, managing, customer anxiety, managing customer call surges, and augmenting customer service reps. The argument that human interaction can never be replaced has been debunked in many situations. And as always, even in this whole domain, necessity has proved to be the mother of invention. And I will talk a little bit more about this as I talk about the second category of activities. So, the second category where technology has become very relevant is driving innovation for the greater good. And I like to talk about this as good tech in action. Now, as the world races to find a cure for COVID-19, technology is enabling researchers to sprint faster in this race. Together with other technology companies, we have made IBM's supercomputing capability available to researchers around the world as they race to find a cure to COVID-19. This technology is able to simulate, for example, 8,000 compounds in a matter of days to model their impact on the infection process and identify a finite set of small molecule compounds that have shown the potential to impair COVID-19's ability to infect host cells. This is one example. Another example, in addition to this, we have just announced free access to IBM's 80,000 plus patent portfolio and any new patents filed through 2023 to develop technology to help diagnose, prevent, contain, or treat coronaviruses like COVID-19. Another area that became very, very relevant early in the cycle is as we talk to governments, associations around the world as the pandemic hit, was the need for disseminating accurate, timely information to both citizens to avoid panic, to ensure their safety, as well as to frontline first responders and healthcare workers who were trying to sort of contain the spread of the disease. In this entire space, again, artificial intelligence has become really, really relevant. Artificial intelligence-based chatbots have been launched by IBM and even other technology firms to equip both frontline healthcare workers and citizens with timely information. And these are quickly expanding to include complex queries and regional languages. These and applications like the recently launched Arogya Setu application by our government are helping to create awareness and keep citizens safe. Again, good tech in action. In addition, there are several other examples of technologies like blockchain that are improving trust and powering efficient supply chains, and several others. Let me move to the third category of where technology is actually helping navigate us towards this. And it's all about building sustained resilience. One of the things that we just cannot ignore in this new digital age is cyber risk. Since February, IBM X-Force, which is an internal group we have that monitors cyber risk globally, has observed a 4,300% increase in coronavirus-themed spam globally. Cyber criminals are using this pandemic to drive their business with virus-themed sales of malware assets on the dark web and even virus-related discount codes. We've also heard recently of ransomware attacks on infrastructure of global companies. This is the bad side of tech and something that we have to be aware of and prevent. Cybersecurity in this context is and will continue to be a very relevant issue, particularly as remote work and work from home continues to become a new normal. When virtual meetings continue where confidential information is shared, where digital interactions and transactions with customers continue to increase and become the new normal. In this context, enterprise-grade security across your entire technology infrastructure with constant monitoring, early detection, and action is no longer a nice to have. This is the new normal that will define sustainability in the future. And here again, technology solutions exist and continue to expand to help us with this transition. Last but not the least, technology to reskill employees and all of us to help us learn newer technologies and new way of working and ultimately build the resilience to prevail through any such scenarios that we may have to encounter. These technologies are also available for the education sector to help continue with the education process. Many of universities today are conducting online courses. And again, technology is powering and enabling us to navigate through this whole process. So, in conclusion, I'll say that once this passes, I'm confident that we will return to normalcy. And at that time, the question will not be whether we survived the pandemic. It will be about how we handled ourselves during this crisis and what we learned from it and how well we are prepared for the next one. Flexibility, adaptability, and agility today are not options. These are necessities. Those who use this crisis to permanently adapt and become resilient will emerge stronger. I hope and pray that all of us are able to do that and also excel in anti entropic behavior, where we hope for the best but are prepared for the worst. Thank you again for your time and being an amazing audience. I wish you and your families good health and great success in all your endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sandeep. In fact, a very informative set of thoughts that you've shared with us. And at the same time, you very rightfully said how technology, in fact, is unifying everyone. We have Mr. Anirban Ghoshal, who's the tech editor with ET Edge. And I'm going to sort of pass the segment to him because he has a couple of questions for you. So, Anirban, over to you then.
Hi, Mr. Patel. Thank you so much for the wonderful insights and for sharing those insights with us. A couple of questions is we generally spoke about workplace and we spoke about security. We spoke about how organizations are realigning sort of processes for employees. I wanted to understand as more and more employees start working from home, and if this is going to become the new normal, right? There is going to be a lot of strain on that employees. Home broadband, and it will get difficult for him to sort of access servers where heavy lifting is done, right? So how do you see sort of technology helping in that aspect?
As I mentioned, I think strengthening infrastructures around the world, I think, is going to become very, very important. I think driving and making sure that connectivity, I think, across telco providers around broadband and others, that will need to be a way of work. And then I think the other piece that is going to become really important is how we start to work in this new normal, right? So I see that we're all on WebEx. I'm probably on WebEx these days, probably 10, 12, 14 hours a day, doing calls and such. And many of our colleagues are doing the same thing. And I think one of the things that we all are now starting to adapt to is how do we use sort of the technology more effectively. I think leaving our videos on across the board is not essential as long as someone's there. As a matter of fact, one of the things that we've done is we've actually worked through, and this is a global thing that we've done, is we've laid out a pledge that every IBMer has taken. And it ranges everything from appropriate sort of conduct in terms of remote connectivity, how we connect, whether, if you're working from home, there are some basic privacy and home conduct guidelines that become a part of it, being respectful around that. But I think as this works, this is an area where, with cloud technology, with improved, stronger infrastructures, this is going to need to become a way of life. And I think this is where organizations will need to explore how they start to develop the resilience and the bandwidth and capacity to do this at scale. Because this isn't just about people working from home. I think the notion of customer connectivity in a fundamentally different way is going to become a way of life. So it is something that will happen gradually. It's not going to happen overnight. I think the reliance on some of this technology is going up significantly. I think we had a little WebEx outage a few days ago, and that created panic across the enterprise because that was our means of staying connected and getting work done.
Mr. Patel, since again we're talking on this subject, uh, what is your advice for startups? And I will tell you from what angle I'm asking you this question is because see, there are companies which are born in the cloud, they move their processes very quickly, right? But it's also sort of very limiting in terms of the capital investment on technology. So how would you advise startups to sort of deal with the change in technology, the change in landscape during such troubled times?
Actually, for startups, I believe that it is a faster transition because you're not encumbered with a lot of sort of on-prem or capital investment. Today, I think the promise of cloud technology or the promise of virtualizing your infrastructure, right, is all about converting a lot of capex to an operational expense model. And this is where, obviously IBM does this, several other organizations are providing this. But moving to virtual environments, both to manage core operations, mission critical applications, as well as how you conduct business, using technologies like WebEx and others. That is the way of life, and I think this is where startups can start small with mission critical work and gradually expand that to operate at a more operating drive more opex as opposed to investing in capital expenditure in a big way.
Another follow-up question that I had was, again, from a very work from home perspective, and I keep coming back to that because, it's very necessary sort of to have those water cooler conversations. As Mr. Murthy said, and as Mr. Harris said, that, it's very important to have the touch and feel. Uh, I know it's sort of a overreach, but do you think there will be a set process with the help of technology, which will be very close to achieving that in the near future?
I think it's not about near future, it's happening today. It is happening today. So I will tell you that one of the things, and I'm actually very proud, and I can just talk, I don't have the reference point across multiple organizations. I can talk about this for IBM specifically. I'm actually very proud that across our global network, we actually did a survey of all of our employees as to sort of their um, ability to cope with what we're doing with pandemic. And obviously there was some skepticism there, but I think overall fairly positive. But the other piece that we talked about was their engagement, continued engagement with colleagues and support to continue to be effective in their work. And I'm tremendously proud that our India team actually rated probably the highest around the world. And one of the things that at least I know we've done, and I think this is going to become very, very important across the board, is we have actually created virtual meets. And it's not defined that everyone has to, the entire group has to come together and others, but virtual meets, not just to talk about work related activities. There's this whole concept of virtual chais that we are doing. There are little groups that have formed that actually connect on a regular basis. So the spot meets that we are able to do, and we haven't put sort of rules around it. It is basically getting connected around specific themes, specific topics. Um, People sort of get together where they just talk about how are they coping about balancing domestic chores with all the work that's happening through work at home, and and that whole dimension, I think, and that whole outlet for people to sort of have those conversations and have the channel to sort of do these spot meets as needed or virtual chais as needed, that I think has helped tremendously. Now, I'm not saying that that is the answer to everything, right? But the fact is that these technologies are starting to that are starting to help us you know use it as a proxy for the water cooler conversations, because I agree, those will never get replaced. Being able to just sort of walk into someone's desk and just talk about something and so on, that is really important.
Couple of questions that we're getting from the audience, Mr. Patel.
Okay.
Some of them are asking, IBM is known for innovation, right? And then they're known from time to time in different parts of the world, known to sort of come up with challenges for SMEs and for researchers on board to sort of identify a problem and get to the root of it. So, during this crisis period, I know you've mentioned about the supercomputer aspect of it, but is IBM sort of planning to do a sort of a tech hackathon where, or an SME challenge where we could see faster results to some of the problems that we're seeing across industries today?
Yeah, so we don't have anything specific planned globally. We do have our Think Forum that is coming up, which is going to be a digital event that we are hosting, which is next week, and it is going to be hosted worldwide with talks and events and so on. So that's sort of one aspect of it. But the point you made about innovation and challenges, that I think is happening quite a bit, in local domains. So I'll give you one, and I won't be able to share too much about it because I think it's just getting ready to get announced. But as we came together in the country, right, to look at different aspects of work that we were trying to do. I mean, a lot of innovation continues to happen in terms of how we work with clients, how we are engaging with clients differently, and so on. But one of the topics that came up, a few weeks ago, is how can we be relevant with good tech, along the lines of what we are doing with the government, what we can do to help with this crisis in country. And we had a whole set of ideas that came across, and we actually had a little think tank we put together across. The IBM India typically serves as a microcosm of the IBM Corporation. So we have our software labs here, research labs here, and so on. So we actually brought a group of people together, including our government relations team, to say, what can we do quickly to actually make an impact, to the society at large. And coming out of that, the team came up with some very creative ideas to say that, look, here's something that we can bring together that brings together AI and cloud technologies and so on, where we can actually bring up a solution that can be launched very, very quickly and that can have an immediate impact, for some of the work that the government is doing to support sort of the COVID work. And has been that came to fruition over a period of 3 to 4 days. It has gone live, and we will be announcing it, relatively soon. But it's a great example of how really smart people came together, innovated around technology that was available, and was able to launch it as something that was so relevant very, very quickly. Another one that has come up is, it's a similar concept around using artificial intelligence and chatbots, where we are now taking something which is called Watson Assist for citizens, and it's something which we've launched around the world. But in India, we are now starting to launch regional language variations of it, and we've got three languages, 2 or 3 languages out, and we are continuing to sort of look at enhancing that. But this is again something that is coming together very, very quickly across, researchers, technicians who do this for a living, and there's an element of passion around it to say, okay, we can do something that can actually now help the community at large. So that is happening, I think, around the world, in many pockets, and a lot of the work that we've been able to launch, I think, is an outcome of that work.
I think one more question I wanted to ask you, Mr. Patel, was, we've been talking about this work from home scenario, right? Now, obviously at the beginning of your presentation you said that security and trust is a major issue here, and how is IBM India, with such a massive workforce, treating the security aspect? What are you doing to ensure that that security is present, and what can you tell other leaders, business leaders present here, that they could sort of take a cue from to sort of employ at their organizations?
So look, security, I think, has been second nature to us within IBM. So any systems that we have built for ourselves, and actually we've had to do this for clients because on any given day we have several million financial transactions that actually flow through our systems around the world. So we have had to invest in enterprise grade security portfolio that we have had to build for our own commitment to our clients, and that we have as a part of our uh, work products that we through which we deliver to our clients. Now that same portfolio is embedded in everything that we do as an organization, number one. Number two, as we work with third party providers who provide technologies that serve sort of our workforce, we ensure that those same security standards, those enterprise grade security standards, prevail within those work products and tools and such. And I think that is critical. It is very important as we do that. So, any form of video conferencing, making sure that the right, security protocols are built into whatever software we are using for that. That becomes extremely important. It's built into business continuity plans. And so, I mean, the one piece of advice that I would give to everyone is what I talked about, at the end. There are I think three aspects to thinking about security, and I think in today's world, um, it was already relevant. I think probably a few years ago. It's becoming even more relevant now in this pervasive digital age, right? The first one is security needs to be embedded at every layer in your infrastructure, and that needs to be sort of pervasive as a standard across the board. That's point number one. Number two, I think as you start to consider any new technology, any connectivity, and others, ensuring that not only the security technology is embedded in there, but you have a process to proactively monitor any alerts, any violation, any breakthroughs, and do that in a way that's being monitored, alerted, and very quickly acted on, with immediate effect. And so it's both having that technology built in, but also ensuring that you have an ongoing monitoring process that keeps looking for threats that keep coming up, because uh, people are getting more and more creative. The bad guys are starting continuing to get more and more creative. And then the third aspect is, as you start to build and refine your business continuity plans, have this factored in as a fundamental premise that you have to think about in everything you do, because it takes one breach to not just address issues that create financial loss, but the reputation loss that comes with it is much more significant. And that this is where managing that trust is just so critical in today's world. Trust amongst your employees, trust amongst your customers.
Really interesting that you pointed out about the breach in the end segment of your answer. India historically has been known as one of the countries which is one of the largest victims of, ransomware attacks and all kinds of other cyber frauds, right? Do you see that during this period and post this period, do you think that the number of attacks will go up? Are the vectors increasing in any way?
You know what, that is something that I would not like to speculate on, and it's not appropriate, I don't think, for anyone to speculate on. The thing which I will point back to is, don't want to comment specifically on India because I don't have data points on that right now. But as I mentioned, since February, the monitoring that our team does, we have seen, the number was staggering. It's a 4,300% increase in spams, in COVID-related spams that are being seen around the world. So it's very difficult to say that X, Y, or Z is going to happen in India at any given point in time. Who am I to speculate on that? But the fact is that people are seeing this. The bad guys are seeing this as vulnerabilities that they can exploit. And that's what I think we have to be alert to. We know that things like this have been happening. So the question isn't about whether we'll see an increase or we'll see this happening or not. The question is, how prepared are we? I think this is the question that every organization, all of us should be asking ourselves, is how prepared are we? And are we staying vigilant for ourselves, our employees, our customers?
Thank you so much, Mr. Patel, for taking those questions and answering all of them. I will hand over to Kavya now.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sandip. A very, very informative session over there. And how interesting to see the banter of question and answer between you and Anirban as well. That also left us with a very interesting point on how prepared are we. So thank you once again, Mr. Sandip, for joining us. And with that, all right, participants, it's